Good afternoon. I'd like to share with you a few tips which may help you to improve your English. In this video, we are going to talk about what you can do and what you need to do working on to improving your English. You are spending lots of time at home right now, like many of us. And hopefully, you are taking advantage of this time to really work alone at home on your English. I'm going to suggest to you a few tips, and working on them, you will really be going to see some valuable improvements. I just want you to analyze your own situation and what you can do to improve your own habits to get the result that you want to have. The first thing that you need to do in order to improve your English is input. You need to be listening in English, watching stuff in English, reading in English. And you can do this thing in many ways. You may have a Netflix subscription, TV subscription. We have YouTube. We have podcasts. Everything we can't imagine. It's easier than ever to access the English language and to hear how native speakers speak. You can find YouTubers that talk about things that you are interested in. They don't have to be English teachers, just whatever topics you like. Actually, if you haven't done this already, you should make a list of your interests, your goals, whatever it is that excites you, whatever you are trying to achieve in your life, and then you should consume English content that has to do with those things. Some people likes to read English novel. That can be, but English novel can be quite boring for someone else. So you need to stick to stuff that is interesting for you. When you consume the material, then it will be effortless on your favorite podcast. When you go to your favorite YouTube channel, it can be excited to settle down in a couch or in an armchair. For instance, during this dramatic quarantine, I've discovered Governor Andrew Cuomo. It's a New York State governor. Watching his press conference on daily basis on the CNBC TV channel. I have to say that Andrew Cuomo is a talented man. He has a tremendous communication skill. He does his job tirelessly with passion and devotion. He speaks clearly, and I can assure you, I can understand an high percentage I've never reached. 98, 99% of his speech. If I can make a suggestion, I would like to encourage you to watch some of his video. And I'm going to share the last speech he released so you can watch the video if you like. If you don't have a certain type of content, a certain channel, certain podcast, or whatever you should really spend some time, you have to search, you have to dig, and find the content that you like to to share. It's really worth if you spend some time, and it can take time, to find the channel and to really love a podcast that you really love. But again, doing the digging by taking the time to find the content that you love, to find the types of movie that you love, to find the series that you love, by investing the time, that's really going to make it a lot easier when you settle down to actually input the English, consume the English in the various format, because you know what type of a movie you like and the series and books you like. All this stuff that you consume, that you read, that you watch, is the input. And I think it's all clear for us, what input is. But what important is the next step? And the next step is output. Output is speaking, writing, communicating in the language, in English. When you have input, you are putting a bunch of English into your brain. But what is important is that it has to come out. A lot of people do not practice the out task. They don't use English at all. So everything stays in their brain. Then when it comes to use the language, they feel like, oh my gosh, I can't speak the word, don't come out, and this is the reason why you have to practice speaking until it becomes effortless. And in the beginning, it might feel like you can't do anything, but if you consistently do it, it will get easier. The Fluency Breakthrough Challenge is a great challenge. It's a great challenge because we need to communicate in English, to write in English, to create content in English. So you can finally stop consuming so much English and actually learn a creative ways to use the language, to talk with other people, to have an English conversation with foreign spoken English. Continue with this method, with this strategy. So continue to do so. You can keep improving your result. So the last thing that you need to do in order to improve your English, and you can do this alone, at your own, just in this period, just in this time. And you don't need a teacher to do so. You need to consume English and then speak English, try to write in English. So you have to put in material, stuff, listen, watching, and then you have to put it out. Sometimes that is not enough because you may feel that you are making some mistake over and over and never really fixing them. Or you might feel that you listen to English all the time, you speak to English all the time, and you use the language, but you really don't feel like you are improving, and that's why it's important to study. But make no mistake, when I'm talking about studying, I'm not talking about let me purchase a grammar book, workbook, and I'm going to do the workbook. And you know that in this way I can improve my English. No, that's not what I'm talking about when I talk about study. You need to analyze your own weakness. You have to know what kind of weakness you have. And to do so, you shouldn't need a teacher to tell you what the weaknesses are. When you get a certain level of English or any other foreign language, you can understand a native speaker. You can also understand me watching this video. So it means that if you can understand, for instance, me right now, you have reached a certain level. So it means that you should have the ability to identify your own weakness and your own struggle. For example, if we talk about English pronunciation, I have many times reminded you that pronunciation is the main problem in learning English. And for instance, if you speak constantly, it may happen that you can find a sound that is very difficult for you to make. So you should work, in this case, you should work on this sound until it becomes effortless when you are speaking. For instance, you may encounter some piece of grammar construction that you struggle to make or you don't quite understand. That is something that you should study. And what I highly recommend is that you have to take a journal and to write down what you meet, any new word, any piece of a sentence, any grammar construction. You have to write down by hand. You can also have a Word document on your computer where you just type everything. You keep track new words that you really like. If you read something, a book, and you may think you really like some particular sentence, you have to, you like some, in particular, the way it is constructed, you have to write it down and refer back to it, read it again so you can remember it. And that is the way you can incorporate this sentence like that into your own English. And this strategy is called Learn English by Chunk. We have many times, talked about it. For instance, if you hear a phrase in a movie or in an idiom or a saying or something like that you really like, then you have to write it down. If you take something from a movie, you can take a picture of this movie and then you can you can upload this picture and a description you can write that you have learned. In that way, you are creating something like a visual diary for yourself. You are going to see what is that you have learned, where it came from, and you'll be able to read your the description and remember what was it, what you learned, and why did you like it. I just want to end this video by saying that I actually do all these things with my own English. I speak English, but I also study English. I've never stopped studying, and the kind of studying that I do is not really grammar related. Sometimes, if there is something that I say and I'm not quite sure, I don't know, I don't remember whether or not it's correct.